Welcome to our lesson for today, which will cover the coordinate plane. I've also got some lines that we'll be graphing in addition to using a table to graph. So thanks so much for joining me. If you would like a copy of the note sheet here, I have put a link in the description so you can download a copy if you want to follow along as we're working through these. I'm going to be talking a little bit about some places on the coordinate plane. We see the coordinate plane here, and I want to label some of them so that it makes it a little bit easier to identify. So the first one is the x-axis. That is your horizontal axis here. And we call that the x-axis. Many times you'll just see a little X labeled, something like that, over on the side to indicate that that's the x-axis. Now, the y-axis, that's our vertical axis here. And again, a lot of times you'll just see a Y at the top to remind you that that is the y-axis. The origin, that is where the two axes meet. They're in the middle. And the coordinates for that location are 0, 0. And then we have quadrants. Now, as you might expect, that prefix quad means 4. The two axes here divide the plane into 4 quadrants. We start in the top left with top right with quadrant number 1, and we use Roman numerals to identify them. So this is quadrant 1. Quadrant 2 moves in a counterclockwise motion. Then quadrant 3, and finally, quadrant 4. Again, we use those Roman numerals to identify the quadrants here. Now, an ordered pair, I mentioned the ordered pair for the origin. An ordered pair is a pair of numbers that describes a specific location on the coordinate plane. So we'll look at this graph here to see if we can find the ordered pair, and then we're going to tell which quadrant the point is. So let's look at A first. We always start in the origin in the middle here, and we try to decide how far we go left or right first. So your first coordinate is always left or right. Now to get to A, I have to go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 to the right. Now, right is always positive and left is negative. So I'm going to put 6 as my right coordinate. And then I have to go up 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That will be my second coordinate. And I write it like that. So we go left, right, and then we go up, down. Now, up is always positive, down is always negative. So our second blank here is, okay, what quadrant is that in? So remember, a quadrant, it's in the top right quadrant, and that's quadrant 1. So we'll just say it's in quadrant 1. Okay, let's do B. So here's B. Notice I don't have to go any left or right to get to B. So we have to put a 0 there to indicate we don't go left or right at all. Then we go 1, 2, 3, 4 up, and remember, up is positive. Now, when we want to know what quadrant is that in, well, notice we said that the axes divide the graph into 4 quadrants. But what happens if a point lands on the axis? Well, it's not in a quadrant. So what we do is we just say it's on the y-axis. Okay, let's do C. From the origin, we have to go left 1, 2, 3. Now, to say that I'm going to go left 3, I have to say negative 3. So the negative tells you I went left. The 3 tells you how many. Now we go up 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And again, up is positive. Now we are in the top left quadrant. The top left quadrant is quadrant 2 there. Let's do D. Is here. So this one we have to go right 1, 2. So we're going positive 2. But we don't go up or down. But remember, we have to put a 0 there to indicate I don't go up or down. And this one didn't land on a quadrant. Where did it land? You're right, lands on that x-axis. Okay, let's do E here. So we have to go from the center, from the origin, we go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 to the right. So that's a positive 5. And then we go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 down, and down is negative. Okay, and that places us in the bottom right quadrant, which is quadrant 4. Then let's do F, which is here. So we'll from the origin, we'll go 1, 2, 3, 4 to the left. Remember, we say that by doing -4. And then we go 1, 2, 3 down. So that's -3. Notice that places us in the bottom left quadrant, which would be quadrant 3. Now, you may see now why I offered that you have a copy of the note sheet here. And again, it's in the description if you want to download a copy, because counting those gets to be kind of difficult on a screen, I think. So anyways, let's continue on. Now, this time we're going to go the opposite direction. I'm going to give the coordinates and we're going to plot the points here. So let's start from the origin here. +2 means to go right 2 and down 1. So this would be point M. Let's do N. From the origin, we go left 3, 1, 2, 3, and down 3, 1, 2, 3. And that gives me N. Now, if you want, one of the best things to do would be go ahead and pause the video and you try to plot these other ones and then come back and check. It's always a great thing to do if to check and kind of quiz yourself here. So 0 means I don't go right or left, but then I go up 3.5. 1, 2, 3, and then I go a little half more than 3. And I'll put R, point R there. Let's do T. From the origin, I go right 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and down to 1, 2 puts me here. Then let's do V. From the origin, I'm going left 3, 1, 2, 3. Then I'm not going up or down. So that would put us here. Then let's do W. Says to go to the left a half and then up 1. So it goes here. That's W. And then X would be, don't go right or left, but go down 2. So that would be X right there. Okay. So very easy to put the points in there. You can practice with these, choosing a first coordinate, second coordinate, choose some positives and negatives so that you're moving all around the quadrants. Next, let's use the intercept method to help us graph some lines. Now you may be saying, well, what is the intercept method? Well, intercepts are where the graph touches either the x-axis or the y-axis. So if you want to find the x-intercept, you replace y with 0. Let me show you what that would look like for this equation. In place of the y, I'm going to put a 0. So 3 times x plus 5 times 0. See, anytime a number is written beside a variable, it means to multiply. Well, we know 5 times 0 is 0. So now I have 3x equals 15. So this is saying 3 times something gives me 15. Well, the something then, if I'll divide both sides by 3, I'll get that x is 5. That means that my x-intercept is at 5. That means this line will touch the x-axis at 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Right there. The line is going to touch the x-axis right there. Now, let's do the other intercept. If I want to find the y-intercept, you might have guessed it. We're going to replace the x with 0. So let's do that. So now I have 3 times 0 plus 5 times y equals 15. Well, just like before, 3 times 0 is going to give me 0. So now I have 5y equals 15. And if I'll divide both sides by 5, I'll get that y is 3. So that means that I'm going to touch the y-axis at 3. See how I started at the origin and I went up 3? So big deal, right? Except that now I have 2 points that I can graph this line with. I like to use a straight edge to be able to draw my lines. Let's see if I have a little card, a little envelope here I'll use as my straight edge. And see, I just run my straight edge through those 2 points. Pretty easy there. And now I have my line graphed. See, I could do that with just my intercepts. Okay, let's do one more like that. So we're going to do the x-intercept by replacing y with 0. So in this equation, that looks like 12x plus 8 times 0 equals 16. So 8 times 0 is 0. So now I get 12x equals 16. And remember how we divided last time by the 3? Well, we're going to do that again by dividing by the 12. And that may not look really nice, but you can definitely get a decimal for it or maybe a reduced fraction. And that would give me 1.333. That just means it's going to touch the x-axis at 1 1/3, which will be about right there. Okay, let's do the same for the y. This time we replace the x with the 0. So I've got 12 times 0 plus 8y equals 16. So 12 times 0, again, that's the beauty of finding it this way, is because that 0 happens all the time. And I get 8y equals 16. Now, if we divide both sides, I get that y is 2. That means it's going to touch the y-axis at 2. If we start at the center, count up 2, we have our other point we need to line up our straight edge. Oops. Make sure I draw a straight line there. There we go. Like that. Now, is this the most effective method to graphing a line? Sometimes. This one is really effective because it landed right on the exact points. This one had a fraction. That's a little harder to graph. Okay. So another method that we can use besides the intercept method is just to use a table. Okay. And what you do here is you just choose some x's and you go solve for some y's. Let me show you what I mean by that. I'm going to choose some positive x's. I'm going to choose 0. And I'm going to choose some negative x's. Okay. I want a mixture to see what happens. And so what I do is I replace x with this value. So y equals 2 times 2 minus 1 to the second power plus 3. Okay, so 2 minus 1 is 1. 1 to the second, still 1. 2 times 1 is 1. Plus 3 gives me 5. And you can use your calculator to help you with that value. Okay. Let's put in 1. So now I've got 1 minus 1 in the parentheses. 1 minus 1 is 0. 0 to the second power is 0. 2 times 0 is 0. But then I got to add 3, which is 3. Let's do 0. Now I'm speeding through these calculations here, but please take your time to investigate that value. Okay. 0 minus 1 is negative 1. To the second power is 1. 2 times 1 is 2. Plus 3 is 5. Okay. Now let's do negative 1. So we got negative 1 minus 1 inside the parentheses. Be real careful. That's negative 2. Negative 1 minus 1 is negative 2. Negative 2 to the second is 4. 2 times 4 is 8. 8 plus 3 is 11. All right. And one more here. 2. Put in negative 2. So negative 2 minus 1 is negative 3. To the second is 9. 2 times 9 is 18. 18 plus 3 is 21. All right. So what do we do with these? Well, we take them and we plot them. So we plot the point 2, 5. So we start at the center. We go right 2 and up 5. 2, 3, 4. There's our first point right there. Okay. Then we'll do 1, 3. Start at the center, go over 1 and up 3. There we go. Then we'll do 0, 5. So don't go right or left, but go up 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Then we'll do negative 1, 11. So start here, go left 1 and then up 11. Takes us off the graph a little bit. And that last one's not even going to be on our graph. But to know something a little bit, and we will spend time on this more and more, to know about a graph that has an x to the second in it, we know that it takes a shape that looks like a parabola. It's a U-shaped graph. And so notice how the table gives us an approximation or gives us points to graph with, okay? Now I'm going to do one more just like that. And again, I'm going to choose some positives, some negatives, some zero. And we have an absolute value to work with here. So I have absolute value of 2 plus 2, which is 4. 4 minus 4 is 0. Then I have the absolute value of negative 1 plus 2, which negative 1 plus 2 is 1. Absolute value would be 1 minus 4 be negative 3. Then I have 0. So I've got absolute value of 0 plus 2. So that's 2. Absolute value of 2 is 2 minus 4, negative 2. Then I've got 1. So we'll do absolute value of 1 plus 2, which is 3. 3 minus 4 is negative 1. And then we'll do 2. Oops, sorry. Let me do negative 2 here. Negative 2 plus 2 would give me 0. Absolute value of 0 is 0. And then negative 4. Okay, so first we plot 2, 0. 1, 2. Don't go up any. Then we plot negative 1, negative 3. So that'd be left 1, down 3. 1, 2, 3. Okay, then let's do 0, negative 2. 0, negative 2 would be here. And then 1, negative 1. 1, negative 1. There we go. And then negative 2, negative 4. 2, negative 4 would be here. Okay, now this looks like a line. However, if we do a few more points, like negative 3, so if we put in negative 3, I'll get negative 3 plus 2, which is negative 1. Absolute value of negative 1 is positive 1. And then subtract 4 will give me negative 3 there. So you can see that we actually make a V shape. And again, the more we study what the types of graphs look like, we begin to see that the absolute value of x makes this classic V shape. Okay, just like x to the second makes this classic U shape we call a parabola. Okay, but again, the table is a way to start out exploring those kinds of shapes for a graph that we don't maybe know what shape it should take. So friends, we've covered a lot in this video. We talked about coordinate points. We talked about quadrants. We looked at finding the intercepts, and we also looked at using a table to find a graph. I encourage you to practice with these. If you want the note sheet, like I said, it's in the description. You're welcome to download it. Let me know if you want to see some more practice items like this. I would be happy to help. Thanks so much, everyone. Bye for now.